Welcome back to Put on the Pen at the Spot podcast with me, Jess.
Oh, we're still doing with me and with me, Josh.
Now, we've got many games to talk about today and our predictions, as it's FA Cup Day on the 7th of January. And I think we should just dive straight in. And the big game for me, as you can probably see, is the Peterborough versus Leeds game. Both teams doing pretty well in their leagues. Obviously, Leeds in the Championships and Peterborough in League One. Josh, thoughts?
He's shoving it straight back to me. Obviously, Leeds being the highlight of the day for Jess. Peterborough knocking Donny Rovers out in the last round of the FA Cup is probably a bit more of a buzzkill if they manage to beat Leeds as well.
I'm not having it.
So I think it'll be a tight game with both teams, obviously, as Jess highlighted, that we doing well in their respective leagues. But I think if Leeds put out a strong side, which I don't see any reason why not to, considering not back in league action until next week. So I'm going to go with a Leeds 2-1 win.
Okay, I have similar thoughts as well. I think we've become much stronger as a team this season. Last season was pretty rocky for Leeds. We had, as everyone knows, we had multiple managers. And now I think the manager we've got now is trying to instill confidence back in the team. And definitely we have a strong defensive side, and keeping that tight top three is key for me as well. So I definitely think a 2-1 win to Leeds as well.
Yeah.
That's what I'll go with.
Well, Peterborough, obviously, just to put out there as well that they haven't lost in 9 games, I don't think, or long. 10 games. Going back to November, their last loss, so at the very start of November. So I do think it will be a tough game for Leeds. So yeah, I'm going to stick with my 2-1, but I do think it will be a tough game for Leeds.
I agree. Okay, shall we move on to the next one?
Yeah.
So that's Luton versus Bolton. Obviously, Luton being at the bottom of the Premier League and Bolton being top of League One. So I think it is a tricky one to call, because will Bolton want to focus most of their efforts to the league games and not as much to the cup games, whereas Luton haven't really got much to lose here, have they?
Yeah, I think Luton for sure are going to have to show something against a League One side. I think they're second in the league, are they? But yeah, with not much, they need to pick up points in the league to keep themselves in the Premier League. But I don't think many people have too much confidence in that. So yeah, I think they need to kind of put all their eggs in one basket in the FA Cup. So yeah, I'm going to go with a Luton Bolton, probably draw. I think actually, I think they're two good sides, but too tight to call. So I'm going to go with a score draw, 1-1.
Okay. See, I think given where Luton are and given the pressure that probably Bolton have to keep their position in their league, I think 1-0 to Luton.
So 1-0 Luton.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're not going for many goals in this game. So moving on to probably one of our bigger games, considering if you haven't watched any of our previous videos, we follow Maidenhead in the National League. So the National League teams are probably our main interest in the FA Cup. So West Brom versus Aldershot. Aldershot obviously being the National League team. Another ground we went to this year.
Yeah, we did. I think it's probably going to be, as you say, a really good game, and particularly there's some key players who are actually back there as well. So for West Brom, they have Daryl Dike, who's been off since April with an Achilles. So this will be his first game back since then. So he'll probably
hope to see him get some minutes. Yeah.
Exactly. So he'll probably want to make an impact there and get some goals. And then probably sad for Leeds, but they did beat Leeds recently 1-0. So I think that West Brom at the minute are quite strong in a team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think they're going to be too strong for Aldershot, unfortunately, in this one. I think I just don't think Aldershot are going to have the tools to beat West Brom. I don't think they're even going to get anything from the game. Don't get me wrong, they'll battle to the end, they'll fight to the end. They definitely did when we obviously went there.
Yeah, definitely.
We won't talk about referee decisions in that game. No, Yeah, I just think West Brom are going to kind of walk away with this one. I'm going to go with a 3-1, possibly maybe even a 4-1, but I'm going to stick with a 3-1. I think Aldershot can get a goal.
Okay. Well, I'll flip that as again. Sometimes I don't always like to agree with you. So I think it's going to be 3-2 to Aldershot. I think both have got some decent goals in them.
Okay.
But I think they might just clip it.
You think they're going to nick it?
Yeah,
think they're
definitely.
going to do what they did against us?
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, I don't see why not. I think they have a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
They play the ball around, and seeing them at their ground, I just don't think they're going to have enough away from home as well. So yeah, I'm going to stick with my 3-1.
Okay. So next we've got West Ham versus Bristol City. Obviously, West Ham sitting 6th in the Premier League and Bristol City about 11th in the Championship. Both are actually in good form this season as well, so it is another one that's probably going to be a bit tight to call, or someone could totally steal it. But I might just go straight in with my gut feeling on this, and I think West Ham, probably seeing where they are in the league, I think it's just going to be 2-0 to them.
Yeah, another one. I don't see a reason why West Ham wouldn't put a stronger side out, but you never know. They might rest a few players for obviously the league. Hopefully they can. Hope not for an Arsenal point of view, but for their sake, hopefully they can get into Europe next year. So maybe they will rest a few players, but I still think they're going to be too strong for Bristol, who are, as you said, mid-table in the Championship. So I'm going to go with I feel there'll be a few goals in this game, so I'm going to go with a 3-2 West Ham.
Okay. All right, so next is Shrewsbury versus Wrexham. So Wrexham are actually doing really well this season after being promoted. So they're now 3rd in League Two. And Shrewsbury are 15th in League One. Aren't on totally good form yet, so I think Wrexham can actually nick a few goals here and get like 3-0.
You think they're going to be...
Yeah, I do think they can do it.
Okay. Wrexham being in the National League last year, the kind of big kind of team start. I don't know how to pull it. I don't want to call them Hollywood or whatever everybody's called them and stuff like that. But yeah, being obviously the bigger kind of club. So I think Shrewsbury could do an upset. Do we want to call it an upset, considering Shrewsbury are probably obviously in a higher league? So, but I'm gonna go with a Shrewsbury win.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with a 2-1 Shrewsbury.
Okay. Now, do you want to mention the next fixture for today, Josh?
So Man City versus Huddersfield. Another Yorkshire team for Jess. I don't think she follows Huddersfield as much as some of the other kind of Yorkshire teams. Man City, obviously, I keep saying obviously. I need to get that out of my vocabulary. But Man City versus Huddersfield. Yeah, Huddersfield not doing great in the Championship. Man City, I would say, not doing great in the Premier League for their standards. So I think this is going to be a lot tighter than anybody would have thought. It is at Man City. I don't think they're going to have kind of all their fans. It's going to be a bit of a tourist attraction. Not to upset any Man City fans, but yeah, it's true. It's pretty much the same for most Premier League games in terms of when they're playing in the FA Cup in the kind of lower rounds. So, but I think Huddersfield could nick something. I think they might be able to take it back to their ground. So I'm going to go over 2-2 Man City versus Huddersfield.
I think my prediction is probably drastically different to yours. I'm going 4-1 Man City, just the way Man City playing at the minute. And I feel like even when the opposite team get a goal in, they like to fight back and fight back hard. That's why I'm saying them. Even if Huddersfield get a goal in early, they'd fight back 4 goals after that. So that's why I'm saying that.
And they're going to get batters.
Yeah.
Okay. So Nottingham Forest versus Blackpool.
These are 2 teams I'm not really sure about, just because the way they've been playing this season. So Forest have won 2 last games and then lost 2 of the last games as well. Blackpool are playing about average as well. We've been 8th in League One. I think it's a tough one to call for me, so I'm just going to go for a 1-1 draw. It's quite I don't really know on this one.
Yeah, they're both probably mediocre teams in their respective leagues. Nottingham Forest being in the Premier League and Blackpool being in League One. Yeah, I could probably agree with a draw, but I'm probably gonna go with there being some goals. So I'm gonna go with a 2-2, I think. But I think Nottingham Forest might nick it with a 2-1. But I'm gonna stick with my gut and go with 2-2. 2-2 Nottingham Forest versus Blackpool.
Great. Now the last game, which is probably important to you, is Arsenal versus Liverpool. How do you think Arsenal are going to play today, Josh?
Well, yeah, Arsenal versus Liverpool being the kind of late kickoff, the 4:30 kickoff. Yeah, I mean, what's our last 2 games between ourselves have been draws, so I wouldn't be surprised to see another draw. There seems to always be goals. Our form isn't great. I feel like we need to show something. So I'm gonna go with Arsenal kind of going ahead, maybe by 2 goals. Liverpool kind of bringing it back to a 2-2, and then Arsenal nicking it at the end. I think just nicking it with a header or something silly. You know what? Arsenal, Declan Rice whacking one in it, rebounded off someone or something like that. So I'm going to go with a 3-2 Arsenal.
Okay. I agree with Arsenal in just the way they're playing at the minute, and I think they're going to focus their efforts here in the FA Cup over the Premier League. So I definitely think that's where it's going to happen. So I think it's going to be a tight game for sure, particularly with Liverpool being first in the Premier League. So I think it's going to be a 2-1 win to Arsenal.
Another Arsenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, a lot of people have mentioned that Liverpool might play a weaker team. I don't see why they would, but you never know. I mean, we're going to have to wait to see the lineups for that. But I think both teams should play a strong side, and I think it's going to be a very interesting game between the 2 clubs that obviously were fighting for the kind of top spot, and then Arsenal's been on some really bad form recently. So yeah, but I'm going to stick with my guns and go Arsenal 3-2.
Okay.
Stick with my gunners, should I say? My penis.
Good pun there. That's all the predictions for the day. So we'll check back in later and see how accurate we were, and then how well Arsenal played and Leeds have played today. Brilliant. Thank you.